Well, Shadow Immigration Minister Dan Tehan is slamming the Voice-obsessed Labor government, calling it distracted, quote unquote, from the real issues affecting Australians through its incessant voice push. Take a look.
The RBA have said this to the government: get your spending under control, and then it won't put the pressure on interest rates that we're seeing at the moment. But we're not seeing that from the government. All we're seeing is a government focused on the voice and not dealing with the matters that are important to the Australian people, like cost of living.
Joining me now is Sky News contributor. What am I talking about? Sky News contributor.
I choose to be a news
choose to be with me.
How are
Joe
you,
Hildebrand, good to have you, mate. And Headline Advisory Director Andrew Carswell. I'll start with you, Andrew. I mean, we saw a poll from Redbridge about a week ago that showed that the voice to Parliament is in the top 3 issues for only 6% of Australians. It was 2% said it was number 1, 2% said it was number 2, and 2% said it was number 3. So as an issue, even though, you know, we're obviously talking about it here every night and it's dominating politics, it's not the issue that people actually care about. So once you've got the distraction of the voice out of the way, the government's going to have to seriously stare down the barrel of things like cost of living, which is the number 1 issue in the country. And if they're not careful, I mean, that could hit them like a ton of bricks very fast.
Yeah, well, certainly. I think cost of living is the 1, 2, 3 number issue in Australia and across the board. And it's an issue that as you said, is being ignored. And you know, it's not necessarily an issue of the policy on the voice. It's a matter of priority, and people are seeing that the priority of the Prime Minister is in the wrong area. And again, nothing to do with the policy as it stands. I think there are a lot of people that are going to vote yes on October 14 that are fed up with either hearing about the voice when the Prime Minister should be focusing on other things. But I take your point in terms of what's next after the voice. I'm not convinced that the government has a proper narrative on the cost of living anyway. Anything they've put together in this space has actually seen an increase in the cost of living. Now, we've seen an employment white paper that was just full of white noise. And adding to that, you were about to go into a quite rigorous debate on industrial relations, with the business community saying very clearly that these changes will put upward pressure on cost of living. So it's not only the fact that they're not talking about it, they're about to be locked in a fight where the pressure will come on cost of living.
I mean, can't we walk and chew gum at the same time, Joe? Because, I mean, the polling at the moment seems to show that the government is not being hurt by the fact that the voice seems to be in the toilet. But it could be a very different equation on the other side.
Look, I think, ironically, the reason I think the voice is struggling a bit is because it's the no camp that has been so effective at talking about the voice non-stop and then making it look like it's the government talking about the no camp, because we've just had Dan Tehan talking about the voice by saying it's the other people talking about the voice, so I'm going to talk about how they're talking about the voice. And, of course, we're talking about the voice right here, right now. So, look, I think the No campaign has been effective in making it look like the government is obsessed with the voice, but the facts simply do not bear that out. The questions that are asked in question time are all about the voice, from Peter Dutton, from the opposition. The noise about the No campaign got a head start on the Yes campaign, ironically enough, for the voice, which is another reason it's a bit in trouble, because it was being attacked before the form of words had ever been established. And so I think it's a little bit rich for all these people who are jumping up and down, talking about the voice and talking about how the government's talking about the voice, to say you're not focused on the real issues. I mean, the government is doing stuff around cost of living. It's, in terms of spending, good try from Dan, of course, but it's delivered 2 surpluses, or it's looked set to deliver.
Yeah, only because resources have gone through the roof.
A surplus is a surplus.
Humpty Dumpty could have been the treasurer, and you'd get that surplus.
And it's doing what it can to break the skills shortages by bringing in more migrants.
Yeah, bringing up the housing prices. That's not very popular here, driving
obviously.
up the rents.
Chris Minns is saying he'll go to war with Clover Moore or any NIMBYs who stand in the way of housing. So they're doing all these things, and yet no one is paying any attention to it, because the opposition knows that if it talks about these things, it's not as effective as making it look like the government's talking about the voice. So what do? They talk about the voice.
No, I reckon cost of living is a vote winner. I mean, surely. You look at your power bill. I mean, what's the government doing? The
government is doing it, but I'm saying this is like the opposition saying, or the No campaign saying that, the government's talking about nothing but the voice and not addressing cost of living. That is actually gaslighting, because they're talking about the voice, making it look like it's the government that's doing it.
The cost of the gas to Gaslight is going up as well. Now, just sticking with the Voice for a minute, Warren Mundine's own daughter has come out against his No campaign, telling The Guardian that it's at odds with how she was raised and that it's not morally right. Garigarra Riley-Mundine is her name. She's spoken out publicly against her father because The Voice is, quote unquote, something that's incredibly important. And she said her father's opposition was hurtful and fear-based and hard to hear. Now, she goes on to tell The Guardian that she doesn't have much of a relationship with her father. And she's not spoken to him privately about this. I mean, Andrew, if I've got beef with my dad, I'm going to pick up the phone to him. I'm not going to rush off to The Guardian or some other publication to tell them that I don't like what he's doing. If you haven't got much of a relationship with your dad, why don't you pick up the phone and do something about it?
Yeah, that's certainly a fair point. Look, I'm just pleased for the Yes campaign that they could actually put something together that resembles a campaign tactic. Well done. You landed a blow. And they did the same with Nathan Cleary today. Well done. That's 2 in a row. That's a record for you guys. Look, I don't have an issue with what she said. Look, sure, it's airing the dirty laundry, of course, in public. But look, Warren's got thick skin. I'm sure he's heard a lot worse, even within the confines of his own home, even by his daughter. I don't see an issue. It's a pretty robust debate, and Warren hasn't been, pulling his punches as well. So I think it's fine.
Well, as I said earlier, Joe, if Nathan Cleary can deliver the Yes campaign over the line, it will be just as extraordinary as how he delivered the Panthers over the line last night.
Right now he's our best hope.
I know, but is it really necessary to air dirty laundry like this?
Yeah.
I get she's making a point, but wouldn't you at least give him a buzz first and say, Dad, I know we haven't spoken for 5 years, but I'm going to make a public statement about this?
Obviously the relationship is very troubled. I have a pretty troubled relationship with my own father, who's now died. But so I think we don't know what's going on. We don't know what the background is. I think it's pretty obvious, and everyone knows it's a matter of public record, that Warren Mundine has gone from the sort of broadly the left side of politics, or the sensible side of the Labor Party at least, and then now obviously is tied up with the Liberal Party. So the fact that his views have changed is no secret. I think she has every right to say this. Whether it's good for the Yes campaign or bad for the No campaign, I don't know. To me, it strikes me as just a little bit sad. And again, we've seen, Warren's views have been surprising and conflicted on a number of issues. He's come out saying he supports changing the date of Australia Day. He's come out saying he supports treaties, but he doesn't support a voice for some reason. So, there's a fair bit of, as much as I always take the rap for the Yes campaign not always being particularly disciplined, if you actually look at what the No campaign is for rather than just what it's against, it's a sack of cats.
Well, let's talk about something I think we'd all be against. That's Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex. Apparently she was being battered around as a possible replacement for the late Californian Senator Dianne Feinstein, who died with 13 months remaining in her term. So a senior UK Labor Party source confirmed to the Mail on Sunday that she'd been networking with senior Dems to build a grassroots campaign for her political ambitions. She even had a Zoom call for an hour with Governor Gavin Newsom. Now, thank God, in the end, they went with someone else, a Democratic strategist, former advisor to Kamala Harris, which,
Is that really better?
Look, can you imagine, Joe? Meghan Markle,
I don't want to imagine.
a US senator?
I want it to happen.
Why? For the headlines?
Exactly. It's the same reason you want to see Donald Trump happen. You want to see what happens next. No, we've already screwed the country. We're already going to have World War III with China. Putin's already invading Ukraine, and the Republicans aren't doing anything about it. The whole joint's screwed. We might as well get some entertainment out of it.
I mean, can you imagine, Andrew? I mean, it's a long-running thing that the royal family has nothing to do with politics. They're impartial. Oh, not over here. Meghan wants to have her nose in everything.
Oh, I want this to happen too. We need this in US political life, I think. And look, California's they've had their dances with celebrity politicians from the past. And look, the last notable politician to come out of California is the vice president herself. And so for that state, the only way is up.
That's right. It's vote one Meghan. It couldn't be worse.
Exactly. Joe Hildebrand, Andrew Carswell, thank you so
mate.
much for
Thanks,
joining
guys.
me.